one of these should sort the leak out. Let's get to it. Hi, welcome back to Mike Makes It. We're working on my Defender TD5 2001. You saw it seems to be emitting some water from the engine. It's had a few leaks over the past, you may have seen previous videos, but today we're dealing with a water leak issue. And I originally thought it was leaking from this radiator hose. Let me put the torch down where it might be some benefit. I thought it was leaking from here, which it was. I must admit, I undid the clip. All the internal pipe was very crusty and it was dripping down here. And I thought, great, the simple fix, can't be right, but yeah, that's done. But a few days later, still getting the water leak. So it's obviously not from the pipe, but where it is from, and at the moment it's very difficult to get in there. You've got a metal housing here, and within this metal housing you've got the water pump and power steering pump. We get round on the other side, you might see a bit more of it. Yeah, this assembly. Great big block here. And between this block and the engine, a little bit under there, a bit of a dark area, lives this. Let me get it up right way round for you. I've got two just in case. ERR6711. Basically, it's a bit of a special O-ring. Now, it's this month has been let's replace the most inaccessible parts on my Land Rover month. You may have seen an earlier video where I replaced the reversing light switch, and that took 6 hours and a bit of a pig. But yeah, I'll link it in if you want to have a look at that. But today we've got to remove this block. I'm not sure what Haynes manual say if they actually tell you about this O-ring, but as far as I'm concerned, I've got to take off the shroud here for the radiator. Let's zoom out a tad for you. I've got to take the shroud off. There's a serpentine belt down here, you can just about see. That's got to come off. The power steering pump is in this housing, but it's on flexible pipes, which could be a benefit. The fuel pump, which is buried, not the fuel pump, the water pump is buried down here, where Haynes say you got to take almost everything off plus the turbo to get to it. Now you don't have to take the turbo off because I've already changed the water pump, so I know that's not absolutely true. But this housing's held on by about 4 or 5 bolts, and I believe there's one, and there's another one at the top, and another 3 more if I remember the count down here. So this pipe's probably got to come off. The air feed pipe probably got it. There's a lot of stuff that's got to come off, basically, just to replace this. So bear with me. That's what I'm going to do today. So what I'll do off camera is strip the parts off that you don't necessarily need to see me stripping off. I'm probably going to take this pipe off at the top. That's going to release a load of water from the radiator system. For ease of access, I might just drop this pipe off, but I'll have a look when I get digging into it a little bit more. So I'm going to take as much off as I can and bring you back before I start undoing this housing here. I'm hoping the housing I can pull forward and be able to get to the O-ring that's buried right in the back here. I'm not hopeful, but nevertheless, let's get it done. Right, I've just took the viscous coupled fan off my TD5 using these special spanners. Basically, one grabs hold of the nut that's on the viscous fan, one grabs hold of the pulley that screws to. This is traditional right hand thread on a TD5. If you've got other models, it may be a left hand thread, so bear that in mind. We'll have a quick look what access I've gained. It looks quite interesting. Yeah, there's quite a bit more room now. And you can see the block. This is a block I've got to take out. So I'm going to drop the fan belt, serpentine belt, I think the official name is. Take that off. I'm going to mark it so I know which way to put it round, back on. Not sure if it matters, but I'm going to put it back on the same way as it came off. I'm not going to turn him round 180 degrees, for instance. So yeah, I'm going to mark that. Then this is a block we've got to get out. I'm going to drop that pipe off. and hopefully not too much more, but we'll see. Well, there you go, without the serpentine belt on. And you can at last see what I'm trying to get at, this assembly here. You've got the power steering pump there. The water pump is back here. You actually take it out from the back of that block. So I'm just checking I'm correct in saying that, but yeah, that's the power steering pump there. Got pipes coming off it, one there, both on flexies, so looking good at the minute for possibly just bringing this block forward and getting in down the back, because access looks okay. It might be fairly heavy though, so I might have to support that, stop it dropping down into the engine. I can see 2 bolts at the top. I'll point with the torch which ain't the best. Top left of the torch there, those 2 bolts, and I think there's 3 more further down. So I'll go and get the spanners out and take that block off. One thing's worth checking, and I've just checked on mine, while the belt's off you can spin the pulleys fairly freely, these in particular, and there's no noise if you listen. This one as well, and it stops fairly, it's just a smooth turn, if you can kind of get what I'm getting at, with no noise. So the bearings are good in there, and in this one you can push the bearings out and put new ones in, or you can buy a new pulley with the bearings for about £57 I think it was, that I had to pay. Before I had spare bearings, now I've got spare bearings, so I can replace them. If you excuse the camera work here. Down here, another idler pulley, but this is a tensioner. You turn it anti-clockwise on the bolt and the pulley will move that way, which will take the tension off the serpentine belt. But if you listen, this one done stops so quick, giving an indication some of the grease is worn out, missing, dried up in that pulley, and the noise. Don't know if you can hear that. I'm not going to change it yet, but it's something to bear in mind. It's not worn, there's no play in it, but it's an indication the bearing may be on the way out. So I'll look and see if I have got the bearings in there to press that out if I need to. It's possible I may have to buy a whole new idler assembly, but yeah. Don't know if that's coming across, but you can see it's revolving for a lot longer, indicating the bearings are getting a bit dry, but not binding, and probably okay for a bit. But that I'm happy with. But yeah, okay, I'll get the spanners, take that block off and bring you back when it's done. Here we are so far. I can remove the 2 bolts on the top. The 3rd bolt down there. Now I couldn't remove that, and never removed that bolt, always had a problem with it, so I've had to do other things around it. This time I need to undo that bolt. Now to undo the bolt properly, get proper purchase on it with a socket, I need to remove this connected to a pipe. That's basically the fuel pump outer housing. Now to remove the outer housing, you also need to remove the oil spinner or centrifugal filter assembly, so that moves back. So I can now remove this assembly, which will enable better access to that bolt. So I now need an O-ring to refit the centrifugal oil filter to the block. I need water pump O-rings. There's a water pump just about to drop out here. That also has O-rings, but I've got O-ring kit because I had visions I'm going to have to do something like this. On the centrifugal filter, there's 3 bolts. Haynes say you should remove the oil filter. Now it looks as if I managed to get away with undoing the 3 without taking the oil filter out, but possibly refitting. I may have to take the oil filter out, but time will tell on that. I don't know if we can get in a little bit closer here, but you can see the bolt just the end of my finger. That's the one we're going to have access issues with. That's why I had to take this off. To get that off, you've got to take this off, so on and so forth. But I can remove this now, should be able to get to that bolt. The other 2 bolts are down below. Heaven knows what's going to happen there, but we'll get this top bolt out and move on to the bottom. Then hopefully this block may come out. It may not. Oh, wrong way. It may not, but we'll see. But yep, onwards again. Right, that dodgy bolt down there, I have actually managed to loosen it now. It's took a bit. It got breaker bar on there. But what saved me bacon is this kit. Got it from Amazon probably 12 months ago. Basically it's a bolt extractor kit. You can see the odd looking sockets, but they got I wouldn't say teeth, but the sharp edges on them in a sort of serrated manner, and as you unscrew them, this socket will screw into the bolt head and you get really good purchase. You probably only got one chance to get it right, and luckily for me, down there with a tap of hammer, I did tap it on with hammer, the socket or the extractor, just to give it a little bit more bite before I tried undoing it. But yeah, it's broke away now, so thankfully got that bolt, one below it, and I think there's another one hidden under this assembly. I took the centrifugal oil filter out altogether now to give me more access. That's sitting over here with a pile of bits. Water pump feels okay. O-ring there, O-ring there. See, there's one big O-ring, little O-ring, another O-ring. There's O-ring kits you can get for about £5, so they'll all be replaced. There's your oil strainer. I say it's oil strainer, it's centrifugal filter. That's the official name. 3 bolts on there. There's O-ring, I've got to replace this on the chassis itself, or on the engine itself. And there's another gasket that's got to be refitted on there. Normally what I do when I have a job like this I'm doing on the car, if you like, I need a single O-ring there and a gasket. They're about 50p each. Get 3 or 4 of them, and next time you ain't got to panic should you have to take all your engine apart like this. So, well, I'm hoping anyhow. I'll go to my parts bin, see if I got them, but I'm going to carry on. I keep coming back. I know, forgive me. Show you where I am, but I thought it'd be interesting just to show you the extracting tool which I've used, and it wasn't that expensive, but I'll link it in anyhow. Right, I'll get the other couple of bolts out and hopefully this assembly will come out, well, without too much trouble, but I got me doubts how the day's going. We'll see. Right, another update. Forgive the dodgy sound. We're on onboard microphone at the minute. The batteries are run out on my wireless ones, but after lunch we'll all be charged up. Right, on this assembly that I keep going on about, there's 6, well, I'm going to say 6 bolts. There's 5 bolts and 1 nut. And if we zoom in, there it is. That's the nut on there, 15mm spanner, you need to get that off. Now I could have took it off without pulling out the power steering pump, which is here. It's only held in by 4 bolts, 10mm heads on them. So that's pulled forward quite nicely. You can actually see the back of the water pump. If I shine my torch in there, the water pump's driven by the back end of the power steering pump. So the water pump is out, the power steering pump's out. All I got to do is loosen off the 2 bolts that are holding this assembly, and there's one of them. The other one's hiding under there, you can just about see it. Undo those 2 bolts, and this assembly should become loose. How heavy it is, I don't know, but now the pump's out of it, the power steering pump, I'm just going to lift that right out. I'm not going to muck about trying to do it in the car. And I think I'm even going to refit the water pump before I put that assembly back in, because I should be able to do that. So I'll show you on the floor in a minute. I was going to show on the bench, but the bench is full up. I'll get this unit out, get it on the pallet here that I'm standing on, and we'll have a little look at it. Right, still on the dodgy microphone, I'm afraid, but that's what it looks like with that accessory block out, aluminium block. And here is where the water was leaking from, and getting down the back of the engine. So that was the main goal of today. We look at the block. Here it is. You got your idler pulleys for the serpentine belt. That's where the power steering pump fits. Non O-ring there, but there's a little bit of cleaning up can be done. If we turn it over, that's where the water pump goes in. Various O-rings need to be fitted. But this is the assembly that goes onto the engine. And you can see, there's the O-ring, and you can see there's some debris that leaked out, so hopefully I was right in saying it was that O-ring. You've got your 6 mounting holes in there. I'll show you that stud that's sticking out. That's the stud with the 15mm bolt nut that goes on it. And if I move that out the way, right down the bottom, locating dowel. I don't know if there's just one or two. Yeah, 2 locating dowels for the assembly, so you can't sort of misalign it. What I'll do now though, I'll get this cleaned up. I want to clean this up here where the O-ring's going to mount when we put it all back together. But I think I'm going to have a go, see if I can fit the water pump back in. Then I'm going to faff about with all this here. There's the old lorry going by. I might even be able to put the oil spinner back in, the centrifugal oil cleaner, with this assembly out and put it back as a unit. Be quite good if I could. It might be causing myself more problems, but we'll have a look at that. Yeah, I'll give everything a clean up and start reassembling it. Right, we've got the assembly on the bench, and the whole reason for getting to this stage is to replace this O-ring here. Never been in here before, and I don't think anybody else has. This is original. A lot of the other parts have been dismantled in the past. What I'm going to do now is carefully poke out the old O-ring. It's a little bit more than O-ring, it's got some ridges on it. So it is a little bit special. Let's just get that out without cutting my hand. Well, there we go. Don't know if we can get a close-up on that. Black glove, black washer. Yeah, you can see, it looks as if it is a little bit squashed there, whether it was trapped when it was put in originally. Don't know, but it's worked well for 20 years. And we'll get the new one, see if I can get a bit of a background to that for you. Here we go, anytime now, there you go. See, it's got some ridges in the ring itself. That's not an ideal picture, so forgive me for that. But it's not just standard O-ring. That's the point I'm trying to make. But I'm going to clean this surface area. What I normally do, and it works for me, I'm sure people are going to tell me you shouldn't do it that way, but a bit of wet and dry paper on a backing block, only a chunk of metal, but it's flat. That's the main thing. WD-40 on that. Could use water. Just gently keeping that flat on the metal surface. Go round and round and round. You see that starting to clean up. Little dink in the casting there, but it's the O-ring that's going to make the seal. But I think you get the point. A little bit more. Then I'm going to put the O-ring in there after I reassemble the water pump, because I'm going to try building this unit back up. I'm taking my chance. I may have to dismantle it all, but while it's on the bench, I'm going to put the water pump in there with this 3 O-rings. Again, let me show you the kit of bits there. I'll put all part numbers in the description. For the 3 O-rings that go in the water pump, I'm going to use the original water pump because it seems in good condition. And it was actually only swapped out about probably 2 years ago. But I've got a spare one, but I don't just want to willy-nilly swap and change it. But yeah, see, that's come up quite well now. So yeah, I'll turn it over, get the water pump in there, which goes in that side. Then I'll be looking to probably put the centrifugal oil filter back in, then reassemble this as a module. I would imagine Land Rover probably do this. This should be built up to go in as a module and not separately. So I'm going to try Land Rover way. Well, I've built this unit back up. Water pumps in there, 3 gaskets or O-rings are fitted. O-ring in there, that's the offender, that's the one that's causing the problem all the way along. That's why I've stripped it all down to replace. There's a drive into the water pump. I've refitted centrifugal filter and associated bolts that go down there. 3 bolts on that thing. So hopefully now I'm going to be able to lift that unit in I just showed you in one go. The only possibility I may have, or the issue I may have, is I think it's that bolt. No, tell a lie, so one under here you can't see very well. That bolt may not be able to be done up very well. That's the whole reason it got rounded off last time, but I'll let you know in 5 minutes. I'll hook this in and see how we get on. Right, we're all back together now. I can't especially tell if it's leaking any water, unfortunately, because there's a bit pooled up there when I was filling. You've got a bleed here. When you're filling up with water, make sure you undo that on the TD5. That lets any air escape while it's filling the system up. I've got the shroud to put on here, but I'll go and do that now. I'll just let it warm up and give it a run around the block. Those are all the parts I changed. They're probably about £4 a part, but it's took all day. It's another 6-hour job. Nevertheless, it's been a water leak that's been ongoing for a while. Hopefully that's stopped. Time will tell. There's lots of joints and unions, clips and bits and bobs I've undone, which hopefully will have done back up okay. But as I say, time will tell on that. But yeah, thanks for watching Mike Makes It. I'll leave all the parts I've used and torque, wrench settings, etc. as much as I can in the description. If you've got any questions, please let me know. But yeah, once again, thanks for watching Mike Makes It.